There are good-looking people on set, and next to them, I'm Dave Morris here in the Oklahoman video studio. Diana, Huey, Eric Kunze join us. They are the stars of the Little Mermaid, which you can catch over at the Civic Center. Runs through Sunday, an OKC Broadway production. Hey, gang.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks for having us.
Good morning.
You guys hit the stage last night on Tuesday. How'd it go?
Yes. Great.
Yeah, I think
Super
it was
fun.
good.
Beautiful theater.
The theater is gorgeous. The audience looked pretty full from what I could see.
It's hard to see. The balconies are so far back here, so sometimes you can kind of see a little bit of the balconies when you're on stage, but I couldn't see any. It was just black.
Yeah,
How long
darkness.
have you guys been on tour for the Little Mermaid? You've been bouncing around most of the year, right?
Yeah, it's had a few legs. It's gone out, but
I started back. We started rehearsals in November and started running at the end of November. And then Eric, though, you've been doing it for longer, but not on this specific.
Yeah, this particular version of it, Glenn Cassal's version and John McGinnis, this started in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and has had a few incarnations with Paper Mill, and then most recently Fifth Avenue in Seattle. And that's what this production is now toured
Well, now
with.
I guess we're technically with
Or
Pittsburgh CLO and
right.
Kansas City
Pittsburgh
Starlight.
and Kansas, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's
So-
we started with this current most of this cast. We started with the Fifth Avenue Theater in Seattle, and then we did like 6 months, and then we had a couple months off, and then picked up again with Kansas City Starlight and Pittsburgh CLO. So
Gotcha.
it's a little confusing
the fish
because
that
it's
won't
been like
quit.
one long blob of time. Yeah.
But getting back to the Civic Center, so you played a whole bunch of different houses. You've seen a whole bunch of different setups, and how does Civic Center compare?
I liked that. I noticed this last night because, as Dana said, it's it's so vast and the balconies are so far away, but yet those first few rows are right there.
I love that.
So it makes you sort of click in and like, okay, I gotta kind of do my camera acting here and be
Right.
real and be and honest and focused. But then again, it's a big show.
Interesting. So is that different for you as an actor on stage, the spatial relation of?
It's an awareness. I mean, it
Okay,
shouldn't
awareness.
affect you at all, but it is an awareness, especially
Yeah.
when you see the first
When you
few
can
rows.
see people, there's some theaters that you're at where the pit is in front and it's really wide, and so our our conductor is like feels like he's far away, and then the front row is still like 10 rows
Beyond that.
back,
Gotcha.
and you're like they're so far away, so you have that impulse to sort of be like the front row is way back there, so
feel
you
like you
need
have
to
to
really
project?
make
Yeah,
sure that
just maybe a little
they're
bit bigger
getting
than-
this, but
yeah.
when they're right there, it's also nice though because you can feel and see the audience a little bit more when they're closer like they are here, which is nice.
Like in Kansas City,
Oh my
Starlight, which was an outdoor theater,
Yes.
which we started at 7 o'clock or 7:30, and it was daylight till
Daylight?
9.
And you're like,
And this one's flying.
hello, hi guys.
Yeah.
I can literally see the whites of your eyes.
And you see
And I'm
them
trying not to
fanning
look at you.
themselves, They're all hot.
They're all hot and
It's like
fanning
July.
themselves.
I was about to
yeah.
say, so this had to be during the summer. It had to be
Yeah.
smoking
Yes.
hot at that point.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we did that too in Vienna, Virginia at the Wolf Trap Theater, and that was later in the summer, and it was 90-something degrees, like 100% humidity, no air conditioning, outdoor theater, and we were just, soaking wet.
With some extravagant costumes too.
Oh man,
yeah.
Lots of costumes. Some people, the more characters, so like Sebastian the Crab or Scuttle or Ursula, who are in these giant costumes, and like Scuttle's made of
my
fur,
goodness, yeah.
and he was just like, I'm
Melting, yeah.
melting.
Yes. We all lost a little bit of weight that
Yeah, it
week.
was great.
How is it being a flying mermaid in the heat? We should say you play Ariel, you play Prince Eric.
Yes.
So literally the
The
big
flying
stars.
flying mermaid is very fun.
Okay.
In the heat is a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
But I do feel like even when we're in a super air-conditioned theater, I get done with part of your world and I get backstage and I'm sort of like, whew, it's a lot of physical work. It's a lot of core work. I'm strapped
I was
into
about
a
to say, it has
harness.
to be some core work when you're swimming,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word.
It's like singing
Yeah.
and planking.
It's kind of like swimming and planking because I'm being strapped into this harness and like lifted up, and it drags you also up and down but across.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm doing like the crosses, it's really hard because you're sort of like trying to be more on your belly. Like this shot, I'm just sort of sitting in a harness. But when I'm going across, it's really hard to sing and not be like, because it's sort of just ripping across your body. But it's
Well, it is a beautiful costume, though. It
Yeah.
looks
Oh
fantastic.
man, all that train.
And this was actually filmed in Kansas City, so like it was still sort of daylight out.
Daylight.
Those wires don't exist.
Yeah, you don't see the
in real life.
wires in the show
Yeah.
when you're in a more regular theater when it's dark. They do a lot of stuff with really focusing the spotlight, so it's just sort of like around my
Got you. So it's not going to
body, so it
doesn't.
doesn't. You don't see the wires as much as you do unfortunately in the promo. You
Yeah.
see the wires a lot, but
In this theater, it's gorgeous. The lighting and the space for it, and
Yeah.
it sounds good. It's a great space.
yeah, it's beautiful.
The Civic Center Music Hall.
Civic Center Music Hall. We can catch these two through Sunday. It's the Little Mermaid. Our Brandy McDonald from the Oklahoman was there last night, and she gives you guys rave reviews. I'll read some of this. It says a swimmingly skilled cast, fantastical costumes, deeper storytelling give Disney's The Little Mermaid keeps it sailing along. Eric shows off impressive chops as a balladeer with the prince's odes. Her voice and One Step Closer, and you firmly asserts herself as the star of the show in the title role, embodying Ariel with so much verve that even her character losing her voice doesn't dim her charisma.
Wow,
So
that's
props
so
to the two of you.
kind. Thanks. I don't always read those, so it's nice because sometimes you're afraid if you don't read something nice.
Just if somebody tells you like, okay, go ahead. They're not gonna tell you anything bad.
Right.
Hopefully.
Read this
Right?
terrible review of you.
Well, that's a good idea. Do you guys read reviews? Is there a bad luck, good luck to those sort of things? You guys have been in the
It's
industry for so
tricky.
long.
And everybody has their own.
Some
rule.
people, yeah, I know, like some people in our cast will be like, "Hey, did you read that review?" Like every week, and it's like, oh, it's a tricky thing because if you read a review where they say nice things, it's like, great, okay, I'm doing my job, perfect, like I'm hitting the marks that I want to
Gives you
hit.
confidence. You want to keep moving.
Exactly,
along.
like I'm on the right path, and then if you see a review where they're like, well, not my favorite interpretation of, and then you go, right, they're so right. That's not the best interpretation of this song, so maybe I should change it to this one person's opinion, and you
Yeah.
can't do that either because
Yeah. Well, we have
you
sort
know,
of one director, we have
Yeah.
one choreographer, we
we
have
gotta
a
stick
job
with
to
what
do.
we're
and that's what we
doing.
do.
So it's hard, but
Also-
sometimes people will share
Also,
things,
the,
and that's
the
nice.
comments that you would see on Facebook or YouTube are like the worst things you could ever do.
Those
the
are
rabbit
the
hole of
worst.
comments.
Yeah.
The rabbit hole, yes, which I fell down.
Yes. Yes.
It's hard not to sometimes. You were mentioning, though, you caught up. You remember Brandy from last night. Her little one came back and you showed her the jellyfish.
The jellyfish puppets, yes, they are these tall, like on these long poles, and they sort of have this bouncy spring in the jellyfish body, so they sort of like bounce, and they have these long tendrils, and they're really cool. They take up a lot of space on stage during Under the Sea, and that always gets a big reaction from the audience, and the kids love it. Every time I bring someone backstage, they're like, the jellyfish.
Yeah, it's a must see that, and Ursula's.
Ursula's
that's
costume,
yeah.
which is about 50 pounds.
Oh, jeez.
Her costume is heavy, and then in Act 2 she has something added into it that makes it about 60 pounds. So she's
Takes two dressers to
lift
hoist
it up and put it. She's like in a suspender of harness
Yeah.
across her shoulders, like a backpack. She wears it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yikes.
Yeah. Glad it's not me.
Imagine swimming across wearing that.
with that.
Oh my gosh!
Actually,
I
how
think
much
they
does
would.
your costume weigh? It's got to weigh a little bit.
It does, and actually, the heaviest costume I have is my wedding dress. Spoiler alert. But the wedding dress is really, it's
giving
maybe
away
like
the
10
ending.
pounds. I know, sorry guys. Oh goodness, edit that out. Yeah, my wedding dress, there she
Finale
is.
dress,
The
there.
the finale dress is really heavy. And so that's something whenever I have friends come, especially the little kids, they want to see the costumes, and I'll give them the hanger with the dress on it, and they're like, "Foomp." It's so heavy. I don't know why, but yeah.
Oh, that's a nice picture.
Everybody just.
It's a pretty show. It's so Disney. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
colorful and happy, and so glossy.
Glossy.
Well, on the other side of happy, and speaking of comments, you caught a little bit of backlash being cast as Ariel.
Did. It's been a really
Did that surprise you? So I was reading you were actually surprised to be cast as Ariel to begin with.
I was, which now looking back at that, now that this conversation is happening in my world, I'm like, man, I did it to myself. So for me to think anything other, like for other people to think that same thing that I thought, I'm like, well, that's, I needed to change that dialogue with myself before
Well,
it
maybe
even
that helps
started.
you moving forward as well.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, but when they asked me to audition, I was like, ha 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 ha, For who? And they're like, for Ariel. And I was like, that's not going to happen
But
for
at the
a
same
show
time, you had to
for
think,
this
hey,
long.
that's kind of cool.
I was like, that would be awesome. And I was like, well, what color would my hair be if you cast me as Ariel? They're like, red. And I was like, all right, great. Yeah, I'll audition because I love The Little Mermaid, and my inner 6-year-old is gonna freak out to just sing Part of Your World with a piano in a room with a couple people that have to pretend to listen for 3 minutes. And I was like, done, great. This is everything I've ever wanted to do. I just wanted to sing the song once, and now I get to do it every night, which is great. But when I didn't think they would do it. I thought maybe if it was just at the Fifth Avenue Theater, sure. But I was like, they're gonna embark on this big tour, and then it's gonna get picked up for another leg of tour. I was like, there's no way that they're gonna cast an Asian American Ariel to go across the country for that long. And then they did, and I was very surprised and very, very excited. But they did sort of warn me. They were like, the Fifth Avenue had done a production of Cinderella with Jen Paz as Cinderella, who's Filipino. And they were like, when we started doing that show, she did get a little bit of backlash from the audiences about her not being white. So this might happen. And I was like, okay. So I sort of knew right off the bat that was something. So I sort of prepared myself. Yeah. And within the first couple minutes, it happened.
Mythical princess or mythical mermaid doesn't live up to someone's perception.
I know, it's been a really interesting thing, but it wasn't something I hadn't been like, hey Glenn, I have a really great idea for us to take this show and show kids a diverse casting choice, and I can help be a spokesperson for that. I was like, no, I was an actor who needed a job and was very grateful to get a job for a year. But now that this has all sort of happened, I'm very, very humbled and very happy to be a part of this conversation. And it's been a very, a very interesting few months for me since this has all happened. Well, I guess the entire tour, within the first literally couple minutes after the Fifth Avenue Theater posted my picture for some promo stuff, like within the first couple minutes, someone had commented that
amazing.
They were like, I'm not going to come see this. I'm so disappointed. Since when is Ariel Asian? Keep it classic. And I was like, wow. It was like one of the first comments, and I was like, well, they weren't kidding. This is it. So I stopped looking at the internet after that. I was like, okay, this is not going to be helpful. There's nothing I can do about this, so I'm just not going to read it. And I had sort of forgotten that I'd made that pact with myself, and I stopped reading the internet. And then when we were in Memphis, this is like months into the tour, and I've been living my princess life dream and living with like amazing cast of friends. As you should. And I forgot that I was like, I'm not going to read the internet because the internet is a vast cavern of many, many voices.
Certainly can be.
Yeah, and so I feel really bad that the interview that initially went viral makes it seem like Huey hits the South and it gets really racist. And I was like, that's not, no. Huey hits the South and she forgot that she wasn't going to read the internet, and then she read it, and because someone, the Eels had done a video and they were really excited. It was kind of like getting a lot of traction, and so I was like, oh, I'm going to go look at this video. And then the video led to other things, and that's when I felt the rabbit hole. And then you fall and you go, no, I wasn't going to do this. So it wasn't like I went to Memphis and people in Memphis were really mean to me. That's so not the case. It's just that I happened to see it again in Memphis.
So let me just say this, and I don't know if you saw this, but Glenn Cassell, our director, had said in an article shortly after that, it was in some newspaper, he said, we saw hundreds of Ariels, and she sang it the best. So whatever you are, it doesn't really matter. I mean,
boom, you might drop at that point.
Which is so nice. He's so great.
Yeah.
I thought you posted a very nice, thought out response on your website, dianahuey.com, which you can also find more information about this lady. Your website, erickunze.com, features a CD.
Oh, yeah.
Which people can purchase as well.
But you want to do that.
And also, I think it's called My Collection, which also kind of illustrates the length of your career and the various shows you've been on.
Yeah, it was basically, I took sort of a poll suggestions of fans or what have you, friends or whatnot that would want to buy it initially. So what would you want to hear? And so I just basically took that, and it ended up being pretty much a sample of my resume.
That's awesome.
Which was nice, because it was songs that were close to me and I was familiar with, and they meant something. And
a few years ago, you Or on stage with Jerry Lewis. How was he?
Yeah, man, I know. He
Just passed away a week or so ago.
He loved doing that show, and he loved doing that role. That was like
Damn Yankees is
Damn
what we're
Yankees. He
referencing.
he played Mr. Applegate the Devil, and he was very proud of it. He was very proud of our company, and sometimes I would see him peeking through the theater, looking at the audience, like just to kind of see who was out there, and and a lot of his act was also with the audience at a certain point. So he was probably looking at that too, who he was going to play to, but he was just like a little kid. He loved it. And he took care of us. He was very gracious. We had heard stories about him coming in, that you hear not so good things and whatnot, but he was amazing.
Cool. Well, that's good to hear.
And to act with him, too, you had to go on a wild ride, because he would just go off script, and he would go on his Jerry Lewis tangents, and you either had to.
Is that scary?
Yeah, because he expected you to go along with him, but at the same time, it was his shtick, and you had to be there with him.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a fine line. You couldn't just jump in and go. You had to sort of do.
Follow his lead.
Yeah, but
that's stressful.
Yeah.
The uncertain
lead. It was a great master class on on trying to keep me straight.
Oh my gosh.
Favorite role you've played? You've actually played Jesus. Pretty good title role to have.
That guy.
That guy.
JC.
Yeah, it's good, JC. Yeah, I've had some fun roles. And yeah, I don't think we ever came through here with that. But that was about a three-year tour, hanging on the cross.
Oh my gosh. 3 years?
3 years.
Do you guys prefer, speaking of that, the longevity, hop on a show, ride it for a long time, or would you prefer, hey, I'm going to spend this summer on this and then look for something else?
Depends on the show, I think.
Yeah.
This one, it seems, it's nice. This has breaks, which we get to go home for a week here and there, but
Gotcha.
But we'll come back for a 6-week stretch, come back for a month stretch, so that's healthy.
Yeah, that's nice. We didn't have that on the first leg of tour, and by the end of it, everyone was really having a hard time, because it's a grueling schedule of 8 shows a week, a city a week, and so on your day off, you're traveling to the next city. So
Gotcha.
it's not really the most downtime. So this chunk, this new contract that we're on, having that layoff week is everything. It's so helpful for your physical health and for your mental health and your emotional health and your sanity. It's just it's been really nice. But I've never done a show this long.
It's also due to the fact that those
different
trucks
for me.
have to, we have 6
Yes.
semi-trucks that travel from one city to the next. So if we're going from Buffalo to Tulsa, we get to go home for a week.
Gotcha.
Because it won't get there in a day.
So while the jellyfish are in transit,
Yes,
you guys
we
are
get
going
to go
home.
home and
Yeah,
sleep.
they're in their first class little trucks, yeah.
I believe the tour heads west to the desert after this, so at least you're not going to Florida, where who knows.
Right.
Right.
run
We
into
just
I
got out of there
know.
in time.
We did.
We were in Tampa.
just in Tampa not too long ago.
Jeez.
Good timing.
So
Yeah,
crazy.
good times.
Whoa.
All right, Little Mermaid is at the Civic Center Music Hall. It runs through Sunday. The performances begin Tuesday. You can find more information, including some ticket information, at okcbroadway.com. Eric Kunze, Diana Huey, I've enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
Enjoy your time here in Oklahoma City.
Thank you. We
Thank
will.
you very much. Come see us.
Come see us. Woo.